Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. So right now we're kind of in the heat of tax time for some professionals and for some taxpayers who had an extension and needed some more time to file. You might be in the heat of it right now. So I felt this topic to be timely, and that is the power of having a tax and accounting combination type service, or having that 1-2 punch of a really good tax pro and a really good accountant. And if you just said, wait a minute, Shannon, wait, hold the phone. Tax pro and accountant, they're different. I've talked about it before, but I'm going to recap. Tax professionals really handle anything tax related. So your obligations to the IRS and your state agency related to taxes, whether that be tax minimization, tax strategy, tax planning, or tax preparation. These are some of the different flavors you can order off the menu, right? We're going to talk about anything related to taxes is probably going to be a tax specialist. And when I say accountant, I'm usually referring to somebody who does accounting style work. And accounting work is like bookkeeping, financial reporting. It might be fractional CFO. It might be elevated reporting and insights from your books and your numbers. So there's really accounting and there's tax, and they're distinct. Even though we study both typically, when we get a degree in accounting, you typically will study both. They're completely different ends of the spectrum of the career path. So getting that out of the way as a fundamental understanding is going to help you, digest this episode. And what I want to talk about is, as a business owner, you should be looking for distinctly these two different professionals in your life. And they may be the same person and they may be the same firm. And I want to be clear about that you can source both of these things from the same place. However, I want to distinguish that they are two different dishes you order from the same restaurant, and they don't come on the same plate all the time. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that fully. That typically what will happen is, or you will seek out the help of an accountant. You'll probably refer to them as a CPA, but it's typically a tax professional to come and do your taxes, to do your tax preparation. In order to do that, understand that in order to prepare your taxes, the tax professional will then consume your bookkeeping, your financial statements, and your financial information about your business in order to report the right numbers on the return. So there's this baton pass in this relay race of the end of the year. And if you think about the entire year as a track you're running around, your professionals are constantly working, but there's two people standing there. The bookkeeper is running around, and then around, I say January, but my professionals will laugh, but like around February, maybe, they will hand the baton off to the tax pro and say, here, now you run with it and you go report the stuff that I just did. And that's typically the chain of events. Now, what most people will do, what most business owners will do, they will hire the tax pro, and the tax pro is like, well, where's the baton? Like, I don't know what to do because I'm not given the tools I need to go forward. And that can cause a lot of friction. And it can actually cost you a lot of money in fees, because it's super frustrating as a tax pro to say, like, can you imagine, here's a great analogy. Let's say you hire a private chef to come to your house, and they don't bring any of their tools, any of their equipment, any of their food, anything to do. And they're just like, okay, show me what to do. And I'm like, you're the professional? Like, we paid for that. Shouldn't you know what you're supposed to do here? But they're not given any of the tools to do it. So you're putting your professional at a disadvantage by not giving them the tools to succeed and to make you successful. So what I want to instill is that you have to make sure you have that combo, that 1-2 punch of really good bookkeeping that you can then hand off to your tax pro to file your taxes for you. Some tax professionals, and I'm going to get real here, some tax professionals, in the name of doing the job right, will go ahead, take that baton, whatever it is, and run around the track a million times in the month of February and March to catch you up on your bookkeeping just so they can file the taxes on time. This is not a good way to handle it. And I would encourage anyone who's listening who is a tax professional, this is not a healthy way to demonstrate behavior. This is not a healthy way to show people how it should be done. Because if your tax pro is listening to this now and you're going, hey, Shannon, my tax pro just takes my bank statements in January and just makes it work, then one of two things is happening. One is they are busting their butts and they are miserable, and they probably resent you for making them do the work of two different professionals that should be done over the course of a year in a month. And they probably won't tell you that. Number two is that you're doing yourself a disservice by waiting until the end of the year to even consume this information. So you're probably not a big help to those professionals when they're asking you questions or trying to get this done for you on time, that there's this idea that there's urgency now, and you're putting them in a rough position to get it done super, super fast. Now, these things are typically present in tax season, and this frustrates the heck out of professionals. Why am I telling you this? Not to make you feel guilty. Definitely not. But it's to create the awareness that, quite frankly, your professional will not tell you how much it annoys them that we wait till the last minute, or that we wait till we have the bank statements that we hand them over, because that's not how it's designed to be done. That's not how it's designed. And if you're listening to this now and going, oh, shoot, that's kind of what I've been doing this whole time, have an honest conversation with your pro. Have an honest conversation. I don't know a single tax professional that would say, no, I prefer they just wait until March and they give me everything then. I'll just make it work. Like, I cannot think of a single person who would say that. And my tax pros are probably giggling if they're listening to this. It's just the truth that that's kind of what we deal with. And they kind of just take it in the name of client service. But that's not how it's supposed to work. So having someone who is going to do the taxes, but having somebody else, and I'll get into somebody else versus the same person in a second, having somebody else or someone dedicated to getting the accounting done right is key. Not only because you have to get the taxes done, that's not the whole point, the point of it. The point is to get it done during the year and have somebody who's dedicated during the year to getting your books updated at month over month, because that will enable you to make decisions as you go. Imagine, I did Weight Watchers when I was younger, and they had this thing where you had to do a weigh-in, right? You had to go in and you had to do the weigh-in, but you did it like every week, and they could see and track your performance or track your behaviors to be like, oh yeah, you had pizza and beer last night. That explains why you gained a couple pounds on the scale this week. But without that feedback, without that circle back around, you would never know what's working, what isn't, or what the impact of your decisions was. So imagine if you were on Weight Watchers or some type of weight loss program, and they had you weigh in once a year. Oh my gosh, how valuable could that be, right? How valuable would it be if you weighed in once a year? Y'all are doing that to your businesses right now. You're weighing in once a year. You're not getting valuable feedback. You're not getting the input that you need in order to succeed, because you're not checking in with your business at the intervals that will matter. You're checking in once a year with how your business is doing. Of course, you're going to be a little bit out of touch with what's happening, because you're going to be checking over too long of a time span that the data points don't really make any sense. And it's so important to have closer view of your finances, closer view in terms of timeline, in terms of frequency. And it's key that you have a professional that you can trust that will help you with this, to compile it, to translate it, to decode it for you throughout the course of the year. That doesn't have to be a fractional CFO, although it could be, because that's what we do. But at the very minimum, a bookkeeper, somebody who can serve as an independent person to review your books and to basically tell you what they're seeing in the books and ask questions. That is worth its weight in gold. But the two parties, the person who's doing the books or the accounting and the person who's doing the taxes, they need to align. You need them to be friends, maybe not literally, but you need them to get along. I always use the analogy or the visual. I don't know if you used to watch Real Housewives, but I did. I loved Real Housewives of Atlanta. Oh my God, I love that show. And I picture Kim and Nene on opposite sides of the couch with Andy Cohen in between, yelling at each other. And while it was total trash TV, I have this visual of you are like Andy Cohen as the client, stuck between these two professionals if they don't get along. And you have no idea what they're saying. It's just all gibberish to you. Because it's the tax pro is saying, hey, I need to make these adjustments. The bookkeeper's saying, yeah, no, I don't think that's the right entry. And you go back and forth and back and forth. And then you have a headache because you're carbon copied on all of these emails. And you're like, do I need to do something here? Do I need to be saying something? You know, who's right? Who's wrong? Like, I'm not in a position to make a call here. And that's a really tough situation to be in. And I find a lot of clients end up in that situation with their professionals. And one way to avoid that is to source everything in the same place. So there's nothing wrong with sourcing everything in the same place. And I'm going to say that as someone who provides everything in the same place. I do that for a couple of reasons. One is then I don't have to roommate on clients with other professionals. It's just easier when you're in control of the narrative. You're in control of how things are going to go from end to end. It is favorable for us, but it's also about, minimizing the friction for the client, minimizing the baton passing, because if we don't have to wait for somebody to pass us the baton, we're in complete control of the timeline, then we can get the return done much faster. We can get the books done right on time and go right into tax return preparation and get all of that done as part of our cycle process. And we don't have to interface with another professional or wait for their busy workload. When you're in line with us to get things done, you're in line with us and we know exactly where you are. We don't pass it off to somebody else who has 100 people in front of you. So that is an advantage of keeping everything in one place. I'm going to go through the disadvantage though. And I fully admit that this disadvantage is present for us as well. It's just the natural process. And that is, if you're going to use the same place for your tax and your accounting, not one single person can be the ultimate expert at both things. There's just not enough hours in the day, you guys. There's an entire master's degree in taxation. There's an entire master's degree in accounting. I do not have both of these things. I have neither of those things, actually. I have a CPA, which makes me good enough at all these things to do a great job for my clients. However, if you are looking for a specialist in one of those areas, you're going to want to focus on the area where you need specialty, the area where you need that specialization, where you need that specific problem solved. Because if you go to a generalist who does a little bit of everything, you're going to solve a little bit of everything, as opposed to solving one particular problem you have completely and confidently. And we're in the position where, let's just say I'm not a expert in like a 1031 exchange or real estate transaction. I'm not an expert in that. I know people who are, and I definitely bring them in on my clients when I'm not the expert. But if you're looking for that in particular, then maybe you don't start with a bookkeeper. Like, you're going to look for someone who has that specialization, maybe who works with real estate investors. And then you'll also work with a bookkeeper who's good at that, good at working with real estate investors, but maybe it's a secondary thing that they work with real estate investors. It's probably more important that your tax person knows your industry if your primary way of making money involves a lot of tax strategy. So you have to be thinking about, what are my priorities here? Like, what type of skill set do I want in this person? Do I want them really specialized in my industry? And if so, if I'm going to get someone hyper specialized in an industry, I'm probably not going to get someone who's good at bookkeeping, taxes, and. You kind of have to decide what's more important to you. And there is no right answer. But the intention of this episode is to inform you that there is a step in the process to decide what your priority is. Is it industry focus, or is it service-based? Like, I really just want someone who can be end-to-end and interface with me and build a relationship and just kind of quarterback this whole thing so I know it's covered. I want somebody to act as my, let's say, CFO. This is what we do. I want Shannon to come in and I want her to just oversee everything and tell me where I need a specialist. Tell me what I should be focusing on. Help me stay on top of my financial goals. Hold me accountable to the decisions I'm making in my business. I just need that right now. Then we're your people. But if you're really more focused on a particular transaction or a particular strategy, we may not be. And that's okay, because people will focus on that specifically. But creating that awareness on what your priority actually is extremely important in your level of satisfaction with the professionals that you hire. So if you are a week from the October deadline right now, you haven't filed your taxes yet, and you're kind of rolling your eyes going, well, they haven't even responded to me. They're insanely busy. I cannot get a hold of them. I do not know where my taxes stand. You may want to start shopping around for someone else who can help you. In particular, you want to be really, really specific about the level of communication you expect and the level of service that you expect. And quite frankly, expect to pay what that's worth to you, because it's worth it if you can have that security and that peace of mind to know it's handled. So as we head into the final days of 2022 tax season, just remember that you have a choice in who you work with. You 100% get to choose the type of people that you surround yourself with. And the person who sees all your numbers should be someone that you are intentionally hiring not out of proximity, not out of convenience, but out of intention. So I encourage you to seek out the help of a professional that you can trust and to focus on combining these services where it makes sense, but also looking for that specialty where it does as well. One of the things that holds people back from starting their business and going all in on it to grow it is this hesitation around setting it up properly or cleaning things up to make sure everything is legally and compliantly sound. Between setting up the actual business legally and knowing how to manage the money, there's a lot that can intimidate somebody and scare them into not starting. And that's why I bundled up my 5 best resources all together for brand new business owners or for anyone who's looking to clean things up. This is my 5-day mindset refresh because you know it always starts with mindset, and my business financial quick starter, which is my starter course for anyone looking to start a business with all the key elements you need to do in order. My tax deduction guide with hundreds of deductions you can take for your business today. My Money Pro matchmaker on how to find the right professional for you, and my cash flow forecasting mini course. This is the ultimate Swiss Army knife. It includes tools and templates, everything you need to get started on your business successfully or clean things up if you feel like you've fallen behind. Grab your copy right now. The Small Business Starter Kit is yours for free using the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review on your podcast platform. This small action goes a long way for podcasters to get our message heard by more business owners just like you. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to information about our guests and ways to get in touch with me. We'll see you on the next episode.